So the trade deadline is November 5th, and leading up to that, the Chicago Bears, they're being linked over and over to a three-time Pro Bowler with an upcoming trade, even possibly during this bye week. And everyone has a pattern. GM Ryan Poles, he has his own as well. He's made a deal at the trade deadline consistently. This year looks like it should not be any different. Look for a deal to get done. And this benching of Nate Davis, this is during the London game. I think it's telegraphing what deal might be coming by. And the Bears are being connected to some offensive guards. And there's some teams that are playing their way out of playoff contention. These guys are going to be sellers. And the best team that's selling right now, I believe it's the Cleveland Browns. And proof that they are selling, they just traded wide receiver Amari Cooper to the Buffalo Bills. And there's one particular player that'd be a really nice fit, and that's Cleveland offensive guard, Wyatt Teller. And there's a bit of an injury concern that he's just about fully recovered from, and he's been a Pro Bowler 3 times. 2021, 22, 23, and on top of that, he was a second teamer in 2020. And then we're kind of looking at 6 years as a Cleveland Brown. He's given up 18 sacks, 78 quarterback hurries, 108 pressures. Guys, these are borderline elite numbers, and I think the price is going to be right. And this is one of the better guards in the league, and the Bears could likely grab him for a 3-day pick. I mean, coming off an injury, a team circling the drain, they very well might be able to offer that price, and Cleveland's going to take it. And I also want to observe another pattern in picking Cleveland for this trade. When I try to pinpoint upcoming deals, teams also have patterns in who they like to deal with. So on top of Cleveland, I'm also going to highlight a possibility with the Patriots and the Rams. These 3 teams did business with the Chicago Bears during this last offseason, and it likely happens again. So that brings us up to the first of 2 reasons the Browns should be willing to deal him. The first being, once again, 1-5 presently. This loss to the Eagles by the Browns. This team is officially in free fall. Offloading Amari Cooper for not a lot of compensation is proof of that. And a little on the present situation, a little about the player where he's at. So the Browns placed Teller on the injured reserve list with a knee injury that he picked up against the Giants in week 3. And I'm going to go to the story on the Windy City. You guys check it out in its entirety. So in case you didn't know, IR, this designation, it means he's got to sit out at least the next 2 games. He can't return to action before the Browns host the Baltimore Ravens on October 27th. And the guy's in the 3rd year of a 4-year contract, and that contract is worth $56.8 million. And once again, there's a recent history of deal making with these 2 teams. Poles just traded with the Browns before the season started. That's when the Bears acquired defensive tackle Chris Williams, a 2025 7th rounder, and that's from the Browns in exchange for a 6th-round selection. And better yet, Williams, this last game against the Jaguars in London, he got his first sack as a Bear. Really nice thing to see. Just a nice depth piece for cheap. Absolutely love our GM. And also, if you look at the Browns as a team, their offensive line is needing a retool. And their O-line, it's been one of the few in the league, clearly more inept, I guess I would say, than Chicago's across the first 5 games. They've surrendered a league-leading 26 sacks. Man. And a veteran like Teller with his price tag doesn't really fit into a rebuild. Moving on to reason 2, the Browns are seriously up against the cap. They got to offload salaries. And Teller, he has a $22 million cap hit next season. I know, it sounds like a lot, but the Bears could easily cover 9.5 of that. And that's by releasing Nate Davis at the end of the season. They could do it right now. That'd have the same effect. There's some motivation to do that. But outside of those things, one of the things as well with Wyatt Teller is that when he's healthy, he's a Pro Bowler once again. And reportedly, the Bears can acquire him for just a day 3 pick in the draft. And it's possible the move could be made right now and releasing Davis. And that's if he's to the point that he's just hurting the team culture, if he's ruining the locker room, because if he's not good enough to play, if he has attitude problems, the Bears could simply cut bait. And they're not afraid to do that. If you remember, they did it with wide receiver Chase Claypool last year. Poles isn't afraid to do the same with Davis, admit a mistake, cut bait. And there's kind of also the thought that the cavalry is coming too. As of today, both guard and center Ryan Bates and offensive lineman Larry Borum, they're eligible to be activated from the injured reserve list for the Bears. And the Bears haven't designated either one to return to practice. I mean, we're in a bye week. That's the first step in the activation process, but they'll have roughly these 2 weeks to make those decisions, and then they can play their next game against Washington. And it was just announced that the Washington versus Chicago Bears game, that's being flexed into the better prime spot at the 3:30, at the 4:30 game, depending on what time zone you're in. So that's going to be against the national audience. So that's going to be really cool to see. So if you look at the bye week too, we've had some banged up players, particularly in the secondary. For the Commanders game, Bates in particular can be ready to go, and the Bears can have the original plan in place. And that's Ryan Bates at center. And then Pryor, he can be there as a rotational piece. But it's so good to see that he can start for us if he needs to. And a Pro Bowler like Teller, he can drop in at right guard. So this offensive line can now be formidable and have some time to prepare and solidify leading up to the absolute gauntlet in store in the second half of the season. So now this retool, you've got higher end starters across the board. Braxton Jones, Tevin Jenkins, Bates now at center, Wyatt Jones, a Pro Bowler at right guard. And then you still got Darnell Wright. And on top of that, you've got quality depth behind them now. Now, Coleman Shelton is right there if we need him. Larry Borum, he's back. Matt Pryor, he's now there with Karan Amagaje. He's getting wrapped up, and he's probably ready to go. You've even got Bill Murray that's been giving us some quality reps. So you could end up with just a pretty solid and deep offensive line to make this season successful. So how do you not love that, right? Toss in a third reason for the heck of it. Chicago surrendered 17 sacks through 5 games. Battled poor play as well as injury questions at right guard. That's where Nate Davis and Matt Pryor have combined for a well below. I mean, it's not stellar. It's well below average, the output they put at the position as far as the whole body at work. And that's supported by PFF. I think I said 5 games. The Bears are 4-2. So that's 6 games. Excuse me. Would have got messages about that. So as it lies, the offensive line, it's the most obvious unit, right, on the team. It's the most obvious spot that needs an upgrade to get ahead of the November 5th trade deadline. So we're looking at the easy parts of the schedule. They're almost done. Washington next, absolutely toothless pass rush, and it's made worse by the injury to defensive tackle Jonathan Allen. I think it's a pectoral injury. I can check that, but he's out for the year. Then it's followed by the Cardinals. Then it's followed by the Patriots. We got to win those games, but it's also a really good few games for a retooled offensive line. Just a little tweak with that addition to get ready for the gauntlet. We're looking at all our divisional games, plus San Francisco, plus Seattle. Just no breather whatsoever. And anything less than good line play during that game, during that struggle, during that gauntlet, this move's absolutely got to be made. But you might ask, why is Teller the choice? What if he isn't the choice? I think teams like the Patriots and the Rams, they're also playing themselves out of playoff contention. So kind of looking at New England, they've got a pretty nice guard, one of the basically the only good lineman on the team, and that's Michael Jordan. The name alone sounds attractive for the city, right? He's allowed only 5 pressures all year so far. Then you've got offensive guard Kevin Dotson. He might be available as the Rams continue to not be very good. He's just been a solid piece in Pittsburgh and now in LA. And the Bears have dealt with both teams recently. And then you're looking at cap space for the Bears. That's not a huge concern for us right now, especially with the savings that Davis could provide. Teams continue to lose. Pick compensation, it shouldn't be crazy steep either. And then you've got a team like the Raiders. They've got a really good center that might be up for purchase. They just signaled that they're going to tear down. I mean, they don't really have a quarterback. They just traded Devontae Adams to the Jets. I mean, there's going to be a lot of choices. And if the Bears are buyers, the Bears have plenty of cap space to make something happen. They can also move Davis if they need to clear out some extra room. I think you're going to see a big deal, and I hope the big deal is done for an offensive lineman. And then we've got Justin Fields. He continues to rack up starts for the Steelers. And we might be looking at that extra 4th-round pick that could really come in handy. Come on, Justin, just start for a few more games. There's starting to be some reports out of Pittsburgh that possibly Russell Wilson is going to get the start this week. I'll believe it when I see it. When a team's winning, why would you replace the quarterback? But I don't know. We'll see. So you guys let me know what you think. Who do you think would be the best player to add to this squad at the trade deadline? And I'll look forward to interacting with you in the comments. Bear down, my friends, and I will talk to you soon. See ya.